Hello. Right, this is going to be a relatively quick, straightforward video about this Peugeot and how to change the alternator on it. So as you can see, we've now got it out. There is a bit of digging you have to do. So if you're looking at doing this yourself, you will need a few tools. I'll be honest, an inspection camera probably will help because they are hard to find, some of these bolts. They can be a little bit awkward. So the alternator itself has 3 bolts, 2 here, 1 there, and then there is obviously the 13 that goes on the stud for the power, and then the plug for the actual exciter wire. Now the alternators are here. Now you can actually see, so it sits in the vehicle like that. So there's a bolt here and a bolt here, and then there's a bolt that goes through into the back with a taper on it that centers, that basically squares this up to the engine. You can get the nut off, you can get the connector off, you can get these 2 bolts out, and you almost could get the alternator out, to be honest with you, without taking the diesel filter out of the vehicle. But the problem is you can't get to this back bolt. You could do it the other way and take the intake off, but that's, to be fair, just about as much work, but probably would be easier if you haven't got an inspection camera. The reason I say that, so to get the alternator out, like I say, it's pretty straightforward for an alternator, as you'd expect. So there's this piece of plastic. I just take it out of the way because it makes life a little bit easier. That's held on with 3 Torx bits on the front of the diesel filter, and then when you come to the diesel filter, which is here, so there's one bolt that's really easy to get to, that's actually through a hole in the plastic, which is just there, and that is actually a 10mm bolt. Easy. This side there's 2, so at the top here there's one 10mm nut, and then below that there's another 10mm nut. The problem is that's quite hard to see in the vehicle. You can't actually see those 2 bolts. You can't see down the side, which it has these in. These studs, and those studs go into the block down there, and the reason they're really awkward to get to is because everything's in the way. I mean, before I remove the diesel filter, I obviously move the pollen filter housing, take this off. It's just 2 10mm and a nut back there you have to undo. Pop that off out the way, put it around out here. I've obviously took the glow plug relay, which mounts there, and put that over to one side, and then sort of moved the oil filler and bits and pieces all out the way, so that you can get access down here. You can do 99, I mean, you could actually probably do all this from the top without going underneath. The tensioner, which is down there, would be a little bit awkward to do, but it's not like you need it stupidly high in the air. You only need to be able to get underneath just to undo the tensioner, and the bottom bolt is slightly easier if you have a lift, but you can do it from the top. That's what I mean by that back bolt. It's got that taper there which centers it. That's the 2 front bolts, so they come out fine. Like I said, the only problem is, so you undo that nut. What you do is crack the nut off, wind it back a little bit, and then you have to get an E socket, which I actually think I'm using the right size. I'm not sure. It came undone. No, it is actually the smaller one. It came undone, but yeah, this is actually the smaller one. It is hard to see where you are putting that, even with the inspection camera, because you're obviously upside down trying to do it. There we go, that one fits better. To put these back in, I normally find the easiest way to do them is get the filter in place, put the 10mm in on the other side that's easier to get to line it up, and then what I do is a bit of tissue or a rag in the end there, and then just jam that in, wind that till it bottoms out, wiggle the socket to take it off, leave the 10mm on, then you can just put the socket in and do the 10mm up. That's how I tend to find that makes that easier. that's about it really. And then on this one, so you will notice you won't get this part on your new alternator, that's just a locating dowel that slots in. You can remove that with an Allen bolt easily enough. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just throw the alternator back in place. In fact, let's get you set up on the tripod and you can watch me throw the alternator back in place if you want to. That's a bit sketchy because the tripod's sort of leant over up against the car to get you in there, but it works. You can see the general idea of what we've got going on here, I think. So we're going to take the alternator. Right, and what we're going to do, I've just clicked that back in there because that actually shouldn't be out there. Let's try and get you a bit of light in a better place for you guys to help you see. That's not really helped, is it? That's a bit better. Okay, wait. You can kind of see what's going on there, I think. I'm not happy. Kevin, we can get you in a better place. There we go. Right, so let's take the alternator, lower it down through all the fuel lines and electrical connectors. Let's see, we're down here. Now I've got to line that pin up like that, bottom. Now we can take one of our top bolts and start that in here. Like I say, without everything in the way, it comes out easy. And you do have to take that out of the way anyway, really. I mean, like I say, you could come in this way, but then by the time you've taken that out, it's not really any quicker than taking the fuel filter housing out. And we've got our tapered one, which goes in the back here. Thusly. I've got this one, like I say, you can get it from up here. It's a little bit of a reach, but it's not too bad. Put that down there. Now I take if you haven't got a set of these, they're brilliant little tools. These are laser ones, these are. They come in 1/4, 3/8 and 1/2 inch. I paid for them. The only downside is you do end up knocking that lever, which does get a little irritating, but they are brilliant for little spaces like this where you're just trying to wind bolts in or out and you don't need a full-size ratchet because you can't get any sort of swing. They are absolutely amazing. Save hours of winding bolts out one click at a time. I know you've all been there. Well, some of you have been there. And if you haven't been there, you will at some point experience the terror that is the one-click ratchet. So, just going to wind those in. I did off camera take the nut off because on the new alternator you always get a new nut for the power cable. So I did take that off. That's on the side over here. Still feels long-winded. There we go. Like that. Start by tightening the back bolt up because obviously that pulls everything tight and sort of centres it. So we've just got a 15 on a flex head there so that you can get to the back. I do like a flex head because they do make life easier when you're trying to do stuff like that. It wasn't actually that tight, to be honest. It was only just nipped like that. Then we can tighten that one. Then we can tighten it says. Perhaps it's getting caught because it's fat. That one, like I said, they're all just nipped up. They don't have to be stupidly tight. Really holding an alternator in. Now this would be the time that I would advise taking the battery connections, you know, your alternator wires, and just slip that power cable on there, and then take your cable here, and that's for your exciter wire. You can see it's a one wire system, just applies power to the alternator to excite the windings and power the alternator up. So if you're testing your alternator and you want to know if it is 100% your alternator, I mean 99% of the time when something stops charging, it is the alternator. The newer they get, that can get a little bit more complicated, but for older stuff like this, if you want to check that all you do is vehicle running, stick a back probe in there. I'll take my hand out of the way of the camera. Stick a back probe in there and then just check that you have a good 12 volts at that. If you don't, then what you can do is you can actually take a small test light and just apply 12 volts to it. If you start charging, then obviously you've got a loom fault somewhere or a dash fault causing it not to tell it to charge. And in that case, you would then obviously need to do something else as opposed to changing the alternator. Right, that's the alternator on there. Should we put the belt on, see if we can do it from the top? You sort of can't see, but to be honest with you, by the time the arms are in there, you're not going to see anyway. Nice new Daco belt. So take that. Fuel line out the way. That round the bottom pulley. Take that top alternator. I think this will just be easier from underneath, to be honest. I think I'm just going to do it from underneath because it's easier. Because I can only get one hand in at all. New belts are always awkward because they don't stretch quite the same way they should. Yeah, we'll leave that hooked on the alternator like that and just do that from underneath because it'll be easier. So as I say, you can now see that the alternator is in, and put the belt on, and that's it good. So now we're going to get the fuel filter housing. Right, I've just rinsed it down with some brake clean just to get rid of some dirt, and we've got the 10mm that goes in this bottom left corner here. Got a bit of tissue to help hold it, but what we're going to do is, don't worry about this pipe just goes down, it's the fuel drain if ever you use it when you do the fuel filter. So we put that mil through the hole there. Then what we do is take that pipe, feed that down the back of there, like so. So it doesn't really matter where it goes, the idea is it just drains the fuel on the floor. I don't tend to use those drains because I don't particularly like them. But they are there. If you want to use them, it's just a crossbar screw down the front there. And you can indeed use them. Right, now we need to find that hole, like that. And that is now threading in. Like I said, now we can plug some of this back in just helps hold it all in the right place so that it doesn't move around too much. The less time you've got a fuel system open, the better, because it stops you from filling it up dirt. That's pretty great, that. So that started this bottom one, and what that allows us to do is, obviously now we've got an alignment of some description, so now a wiggle should get the other side in without too many problems. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to set this camera up so that I can show you what's going on and me. That could be interesting, but we're going to try it. So, I'm going to bring it in here. These cameras are brilliant. Any boroscope, to be honest, is brilliant. The only thing is you've always got to work out what way up the camera is, because if you're looking at the camera here and you haven't worked out which way up you are, you're going to have a problem. So let's zoom you in a little and reorganise you. I do apologise if you can't see that well, but it's an awkward one. Right, so that is the hole we're aiming for. This is the top one, which isn't as hard to get to. So we've got same thing again, but that's obviously the nut on this threaded bar. Now we could maybe actually, let's see if it holds in. Oh, that might be better. It does hold in that, in the external Torx bit quite well. So we'll try that, see how far we get. So what we're going to do, use our camera and everything and try and guide that into that hole like that. So we're now in the filter housing. Now what we need to do, there we go, we've just caught the thread, I think. Yep, we're going somewhere. There we go, that's one. Now we need to put another one in. And try and get the camera aimed at the bottom one, so I'll reorganise again. Yet again, sorry for the awkwardness, but we are, because I've got to try and get all my arms and legs in here at once. We are going in. Like I said, the camera just makes finding that hole that much easier, because without it, that would be a problem, I'll be honest. So, you don't have to do those up ridiculously tight. They're not structural, they're just there to hold the filter from moving around too much. That's all they're for. So now we can take our socket and ratchet, and we can now go on this side here at the bottom. and do that one up. Sort of done with the camera, but it does help, to be honest, at this point. Just to go see. I think it is, or is that not where I think it is? And that's the awkwardness with this, it is just trying to work out where the ratchet is down there. Oh. Right. Don't know why we're looking. Oh, I know why, because we've touched the button on there and we're looking at the side angle camera. That's why it's not going well. There we go. So, yes, sometimes being a mechanic is like being a surgeon of some description. It's almost annoying. Look at you waving around. Just there. Typical. You think to yourself, it's taking forever, I'll use a different tool, and then all of a sudden, there we go. It's that one. Now we've just got this one down here, which is always the fun one to get to. Socket on, camera done with. We are actually now done with the camera. We should be able to do the rest of that, no problem. Like I said, that to be honest is the awkward bit. I'll get this done up and then I'll bring you back for the last bits. There is a rubber cover that goes on the nuts there for the power cable. I'm going to put the nut in. So we'll take our new nut that they gave us. In all fairness, you could do this before you put the filter housing back in, but like I say, it is very accessible because it is right there. It says, put that fuel pipe down. Down there. Like that. Is that it? Get a ratchet, just tighten that down. Like that. Take our rubber bung and just squeeze that in the top of that terminal. That just stops you from, like I say, if you happen to be working under there, that just stops you from earthing that out on that terminal just there. Just there. So that's all that, which like I say is that's pretty much the job almost done now. We've only got the last few touch bits. So you got this part here. Which lines up with that hole and that hole. Confused? Why am I confused? That hole, and that hole. There we go. Then we just take standard Torx bits and put those in. I'll spare you. Now there's this piece of plastic, and that's just for like a fuel guard, so if you're working up here you can't drop things on the alternator basically. That just drops down there. It says round that way. Like that. So it just drops down like that, and then you have two 110 210s. Now obviously if you've done this, don't forget to use your hand primer here, because obviously you've had the fuel system apart. So if you don't prime that up, I mean, it should start okay, but it will probably cut out if you forget to prime that up. You'll spend a little while cranking it, and the chances are if your alternator's died, your battery's not going to be that good. I have put the charger on the battery in this, and left it cooking while we're doing the alternator. Got a charger and your battery's been low, and you should probably charge it up, because you will always get a better charge off of a mains charger than you will off of an alternator. Like that. Now, in the case of this vehicle, down wherever we've just tucked it, well, that's the wrong side. Of course it's the wrong side. Don't do what I just did and put that wrong side of there. Your oil fill is there. That hooks into there like that. It's just a little tab back here that you push in and then pull it up out of the way. Now we can take our water bottle, and we've ripped our gloves, surprise surprise, hook it on the 10mm nut back there, and we can take our bolt, find the right place. Thread those in up here, which you're not even looking at. Come on, pay attention. What are you doing? Just at least be looking at what I'm trying to show you. I know that was a good joke for the one person left watching, wasn't it? Now I just need to pull that back up because it's come down. It should sort of sit there, but it doesn't really sit there because it's been broken off before. Way drunk cameraman, broke before. So now all I need to do is obviously put the belt back on and finish tightening these last couple of bolts up, put this back in, drop the pollen filter back in. I'm going to check the battery. The battery may or may not be full. hoping it's full so I can just do a test on it. And see if it's got a problem. Or if it's okay. Because it might be okay. Yes, I like electric ratchets, but I actually prefer the impact angle driver. If you're going to get one, get the impact one. I just find it more useful, quicker, and it doesn't... That noise is actually really irritating. Might just be me, but I just don't find that noise pleasurable. So let's go up in the air and put the belt on. You're kind of in there, but it's an awkward angle because the arch liner's still in and I'm not taking it out just to film it. So what we'll do, we'll pop that belt on, make sure it's on the alternator at the top, like that, and then what we'll do is we'll grab the ratchet and then just move the tensioner. Come in with a ratchet, go on there, that's a 15 as well by the way, and all we do is push up on that, yep, that on, there we go. I'd say easier from underneath. Just like that. Right, if there's anybody still watching, we are now going to put the cover back in. Cover, pollen filter housing. I'd like to know what you think of the filming videos like this, doing just the reassembly process. Because I think it gives you just as much information as taking it apart and putting it back together. But I'd like to know what everybody else thinks. Do you like it? Do you like videos that are complete, start to finish, top to bottom? Do you want, you know, the first 5 minutes obviously I gave you was as much as most information were, as much information as most people would need if they were thinking about doing this themselves. So maybe you prefer the short, sweet and to the point videos. As opposed to the long-winded everything videos. I don't know. Let me know what you prefer down below. So we're now just going to check. So obviously our battery's been cooking for the last hour or so. And we are... light's getting you. Yeah, come on. 14.5, 3.1 amps, so we're still not full, but that has come down a lot. I mean, it's put in 18 amp hours, so it was definitely low. They had to jump start it to get it here, so what I shall do is I will let that charge up, and once that's charged I can do a battery test and then just make sure that it's charging again. If you like the video, please give us a thumbs up, let us know your comments, criticisms down below. I really would actually like to know what you think about my videos and the way I do them. Nobody ever seems to comment though, but I really would like to know. So yeah, please do let me know, and I'll see you next time.